if anyone's looking at the stuff we have in the middle of the table here, it's all Diana Earpads. As is the case with a lot of things we do here at Abyss, we try to do as much as we can in-house, and Eric can attest to the fact that he deals with the machining process and everything that is mechanically made here, machined, assembly. You deal with the assembly side of it. We assemble everything here. We try to do as much as we can in-house. And we've talked about this in a past video, which we could put a link down here below this, but in the big boys world, they call it vertical integration. But you're trying to get as much as you can done in-house, and that way you can control everything, your supply. When you need something, you can make it. You're not waiting for somebody else to make it for you and hope you get what you want when you're in the end, right? We've talked about this. Wasn't that long ago? I think we redid a video.
No, that was recent.
Yeah, it was a week or two ago.
Last few weeks. Yeah. So this is one of those things. And believe it or not, we should probably cover a little background, but Diana, I think, has gone through, prior to these earpads, which we're going to talk about, the new Diana earpads. So this would be the third iteration of earpad design for the Diana, which, I mean, there were 2 design iterations at least in the headphone itself, not to mention a plethora of headband shapes that you were rocking through early on in her design that people may or may not be aware of, but now pretty much settled down to its final resting shape and earpad shape of the current product line, right?
Maybe.
It sounds confusing.
Yeah, that was confusing.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, okay. It's been the same for a long time now.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's back up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've settled down in the last year or two, and so things aren't really changing. But now it's the earpads. And, like almost any company on the planet that sells earphones, most of the earpads are made overseas, mostly in China. And so we decided we're going to see what we could do to bring this at least to the North America or this side of the planet in terms of production, and as much as possible that we could do in-house. And it started, just some background, it started with the foam piece, interior foam piece of this thing. And we wanted to have that molded, made here in the States, of course, like as much as possible. So we, first had to find a vendor that can make custom-shaped molds, custom-shaped foam pieces in any kind of volume, more than 2 pieces, and go from there. And so we had this. You originally drew a drawing in CAD, what we wanted for a shape, what we've always wanted for a shape, but for whatever reason seems nearly impossible to get. And we finally found a company and said, okay, well, we could give it a shot, see if we can make this through, process. Because the thing about like even a foam piece like this, right, that has a cutout interior of a certain angle, it's beveled in a direction. There's complex shapes there where you can't just take. The way they deal with foam like this is they start with a huge block of foam of this material. They don't mold one little piece of foam, which seems like the logical way to go, right? But it wouldn't work like that.
We
right?
tried that. We did try
It's actually
that
very
once.
difficult.
It was very hard.
Yeah, because from
Foam
foam
is
piece to
tough.
foam piece, it's never going to be consistent. So when they make foam, they make it in a block the size of a room. Seriously, right? They have machines that's
Big block.
huge piece of foam. And then they cut it down into whatever they consider to be a workable size. Could be a 4 foot long, or whatever, multi-meter, big square piece of freaking foam. And then from there, they bring that down to whatever shapes you need for production or whatever, for packaging, whatever the foam's going to be used for, right?
Yep. Usually it's cut. So they make a big block and they physically cut it
With a
into the
knife
shape.
of some sort, a wire knife.
Yeah, a
or-
wire hot knife or
Yeah.
something, or a blade, whatever.
Yeah. So you think about that, right? You only have one angle to go with here. You're cutting it with a physically straight line, whatever it might be, a piece of wire or a hot metal, right? So now how do you make a complex shape with a beveled interior and all that stuff with a single blade?
3D is complicated.
It's very difficult, right? Because it's a 3-dimensional shape. Yeah, you can't. The answer is you can't.
It's impractical.
You could by hand with a scalpel. You could sit there and carve them away, which I think is what.
And they're all different.
Yeah, and none of them are all the same. Yeah.
Yep. Well, actually, the foam for the 1266 box, Those are just straight pieces, and when we get them in, it's from some local place here, and oh my, what that place must smell like when you open that box from the hot knife that cuts them.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, it takes like a day for that to just
They
dissipate.
probably have a
yeah.
pretty good exhaust system in there.
It's
Yeah.
brutal.
I hope
though.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're just. I mean, you got to use
Yeah,
heat, I guess, to
Melting
make.
foam all day.
Well, to make it quick, to cut quick, you probably got to use heat, right? Otherwise, it'll bog down. And I mean, they're cutting foam all day long. You got to just go.
I think
through
they cut
it
it with a hot knife.
Yeah,
It's probably
you
just
can
like
tell
a
because
heated
there's
wire.
melted edges on it.
Yeah, it's probably heated wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, something thin that just can go through it like
Yep.
butter. But anyway, the back to this thing, just the foam interior for this headphone took us nearly a year to develop and have made, where we actually got a finished product.
Yep. It
Almost
did get to the point where I'm like,
a
I
year.
forgot we're even working on that. There was like so many.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is just it's like there's a number of parts to it, but the point is that's what it takes to get a piece like this made, believe it or not, custom made. I mean, and part of the year is the company figuring out whether they could even do it to our spec, to this shape, and then part of it is once they get past that point, of course, we're paying for all this, right? They don't do it because they're nice guys. You have to pay them for their time to determine, so you're talking, I mean, it was a lot of money to get to this shape. Once they get to this and they could say, okay, now we can make it. Now we can make they make their own in-house jigs to produce these in volume for you. And then it's not so bad after that in terms of cost, but getting there and the time just to make this one foam piece, I don't think people
It's a
can
real
understand.
hassle.
Yeah, I don't think people
And I don't understand how it always seems to be the case, but so many things that intrinsically look basic, simple, easy to do. Every time I contact someone, say, hey, we're interested, we need this thing done this way or whatever, they always go, what? What do you want? We can't do that.
Right.
It's like that every time. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You would think things would be easier, but for whatever reason, you go to people that make things and you want something made slightly differently, and they always go, oh, no, that's impossible.
Cables and wire were always like that, too, in the past when I tried to have customized cables made. Oh, my God. It was just like,
Well,
because you're just looking at straight guys that make wire. They're not high end. They're not using it the way you intended to use it. They just, they just want to know a spec.
Right.
What's the diameter of the wire? What's the gauge? How thick is the insulation? What do you want to use? They have no idea what you're doing with
Yep.
it. They don't really care, quite frankly.
And how it always seems to go is you layer on like 14 different things that are on their own complex. And so now you have this thing that they consider to be near impossible to manufacture, right? Because every one of them they could do separately. And you think, we'll just put them all together, right? But for whatever reason, it's always a big shock, and it's always a lot of problems.
Or they'll do it for you, but they got to see the rainbow, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
How many of these
Right.
do you need? Oh, you want 100 million? Okay, no
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
But unfortunately, we don't need 100 million of anything. So yeah, they're like, can't do it, But anyway, bottom line is we did actually get this foam finally made.
yes. We got a lot of it now.
Well, yeah, we got a lot of it now, which then allowed us to go to the next step, which is making an earpad out of it. So now we of course, the magnetic rings and stuff we already had. We dealt with that. We had that made for our other one. So the mag rings, but now we're assembling those in-house. We're installing the magnets in-house. The injection molding process was really what we already had. So we didn't, but that would have been an easier process because that's just making a mold and somebody stamping them out.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, so injection molded parts are of that's an easy design.
Yeah, for like a flat piece like that.
Yeah. So bottom line is, okay, so now we got that. We got our piece of foam. So we got our injection molded magnetic ring.
Yep.
So now, and of course we know how to order them, and of course we know all about magnets, so we can order customized magnets for its shapes. We install the magnets. Now there's like 8 per ear pad or something. So now we're adding it. We're doing we got our adhesive, a little foot pedal adhesive thingy, and Mike goes around there and just dots some adhesive on there. We're able to put magnets in the ring. All right, assemble that. There's another layer that goes on that. Now we got it. So now we got to make this into a good-looking ear pad, right? This piece of interior foam. So now we have to get lambskin, which is what we've traditionally been using. And that was the next project, right? Of course, now we're going to get lambskin that's made, that's assembled here. And we initially thought we were going to do it. That we were going to maybe hire a seamstress, somebody who knew how to use a sewing machine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of us are good at that. So we can't even train anybody. Right? We couldn't bring him and say, "Oh, here's how you do it." So anyway, we wound up for this one. We got to use a vendor who's in North America, and he's able to make our skins for us. Take the skins, the lamb, cut it using a template or whatever, however he does it. It's magic. I don't know, you know.
Definitely.
Sew it together. So we get the skin. We get the skin that's all shaped. And that was a project in itself because we had to have him make the skin to fit over this foam and be able to wrap around and allow us to adhere it properly and all that stuff. So I don't know how I'll even know how long that
And then
took.
sourcing the leather thickness, color, thread, even the thread.
The type of thread.
Everything was like, oh.
Fortunately, he's an expert.
Yeah.
So he basically just rocked through that, and we got that done, I don't know, in 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was happening concurrently while we were waiting for the final foam to be done. So we couldn't finalize that because we didn't know what the final foam shape would wind up being because we didn't know what they were capable of making. So anyway, it's amazing how much of a project this was for an ear pad, you know?
Yeah, it always seems to be the case.
Yeah.
Everything's a little harder than you thought.
Right. But in the end, they came out really nice. And not only that, we were able to put some extra touches in there that we couldn't really even have anyone else do for us because it'd be going, like you said, what do you want to do? We can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it took a little experimentation.
Yeah.
with them.
So we played around because we like materials and we're always looking for things to use. We played around with different materials that we could use in coinciding with this foam interior. I call it, we poofed it out a bit. So we added a bit of a pillow top layer to the existing interior foam. And, we need to determine how much to put, where to tuck it, how, when. Went through a few hundred ear pads till we got it, just constantly assembling, reassembling, get the fit right. Anyway, bottom line is all that work. And now we finally have new Diana Earpads. And they've been shipping with product for months now. So this isn't news. This isn't a news flash. They've been out there.
Well, a lot of people would be unaware, but yeah.
They've
They've
out
been
there,
shipping
for a while. I don't know, since summer or something like that. I don't know. Not everyone has summer.
Yeah.
It was probably June, May, something like that of this year. So anyway, everyone that's got the latest headphones got the latest ear pads. And, and really I think in terms of sound, the newer pads have a slightly bit more focus on the individual instruments. So basically soundstage is similar. You're not really losing or gaining anything, but you'll notice that there's a little more focus on the imaging here and there, which isn't dramatic. And I mean, they seal differently than the other ones. So the other ones tend to have more of a loose fit where these cup a little better to your head. So whether you have hair or not really decides on how good that coupling is. If you're bald, on the side of your head, or you shave your hair, then obviously the headphone will get a better seal, which will change the bass response a little bit, of course, on our headphones. But bottom line is that I haven't really heard anyone say dramatic things either way. Most people seem to like the new earpads.
That's true. Yeah, nobody really said anything either way. Really.
No.
They're pretty similar.
Yeah. And we've had a number of people upgrade the pads. They've already bought the new ones. So they, again, people compared the two, the old and new. And so, we weren't after really, changing anything dramatically in terms of sound. It was more about the fit, the finish, the feel. This lambskin is a much higher quality than what we had on the old ones. The old one, this is the old one here. And we could, if you can see it, but we'd have more of a perforated side to the old style ones. The new ones are all just solid lambskin. There's no more perforations. We eliminated that. I think primarily because the perforations just add a layer of complexity. They're uneven. You get the product perforated and some have deeper perforations, others don't. So, and in the end, it really didn't matter sonically. So we decided to just go with solid and just make it so that the headphone, the ear pad had a better appearance all around. It wasn't a variable for the materials. And but anyway, they're a bit softer. They're a bit poofier. The interior space is about the same. Because they're a little more poofier, I'd say there's a little less in there, but the way they fit on your ear is, I don't know, nice and soft. We haven't heard anyone complain about the ear space. I think it's because of their softness.
It's pretty similar interior volume, a little different shape.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's not a huge difference between the two. So if the one works, the other one will just as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone say anything either way, And also we should bring up too that a lot of people are always asking for this thing that occurred a while ago called the DMS mod, capital D, capital M, and capital S.
Yep.
And that's something that really was never a thing, but for some reason it got around the forums and the circles where it's like everyone's asking for this DMS modded ear pad, which really was nothing more than DMS opening up an existing ear pad, shaving off like 2 millimeters of foam on one side and closing it back up, which made it smaller on the top part of the ear pad, which, we had a couple people here and there who didn't really like the feel of at the temple area. So he modded a ear pad to make it feel better, I think for himself originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for some reason.
It was New York. He brought it with him.
Oh, was it? Yeah, well, it figures. So
Yeah.
a couple people just kind of jumped on that one. And today, even though it doesn't exist, the DMS mod, let me say it again, the DMS mod doesn't exist. But even though this thing really never was a thing, everyone seems to be asking for it because I think rumors got spread that, it sounded better and the bass was better. Or I don't know what the difference, you know what I mean? It was.
Yeah, it doesn't measure any different. It doesn't sound different. It's
Yeah.
literally the exact same ear
It was
pad
a fit thing.
with a little bit of foam cut out of it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change a whole lot sonically.
No.
It's all about the fit.
Yeah.
So if you don't have fit issues, it doesn't provide any advantage whatsoever.
Yeah. But everyone seemed to think that it was something to get because people mentioned it. And yeah. But anyway, just so we clear that up so we don't have to hopefully avoid going forward the confusion is there's no DMS mod. But to add to that, these new pads though are definitely more comfy. And so if the DMS mod was something you were thinking about in the back of your head that one day you're going to want with your Diana because of comfort, that's no longer a concern. We got that covered with the new ear pads. Anyway, we need to freaking stop, Abby. Get back to work. Thanks everyone for watching us. Take care.